Welcome to episode 35 of Anchored in Education. I'm E. Scott England, and Anchored in Education is the podcast dedicated to all things education. Educators across the world routinely engage in conversations surrounding fundamentals, concepts, and new ideas that improve this great profession. Sometimes we agree, other times we disagree. But at the end of the day, we are all anchored in education. After a few years of teaching, I reflected on things I would do differently. The list was long because, well, I was a newer teacher. But the first thing I decided to do was create a back-to-school video. I wrote a parody to the Carly Rae Jepsen song, Call Me Maybe. I can't sing, but I recorded it anyway. I uploaded the video to YouTube and sent a link to students on the day they found out I was going to be their teacher. I did this video for a couple of reasons: to introduce students to me before they actually met me, to see the room, and to get excited for the school year. And it worked. In fact, one eager first grader that first year had her mom record her singing an original song as she gave me a tour of her house. Now, up until this year, I have recorded a back-to-school video every year as a teacher, a principal, and a superintendent. But I received a phone call this year on our first Institute Day back for teachers. The caller was Bhavna Sharma-Lewis. Bhavna is the superintendent of Diamond Lake School District. Most importantly, she is a champion for celebrating education. She began talking about the excitement we have for back to school, the students, the staff, the support employees. But then she said, why don't we celebrate like this in the middle of the year? I was intrigued and ashamed all at once. Of course she was right. Why do we hype up back to school but not celebrate during the year? Why is day 1 worth celebrating while day 74 or 92 or 133 is just another day? I believe Bhavna may have some ideas for us, and if she is anything like the first time I spoke with her on the phone, I believe you will feel the energy. Bhavna, welcome to Anchored in Education.
Hi, Scott.
Hey, I'm excited to have you today, and I think what makes me excited is how excited you get for education and for what we do, and we're going to get into that because that is our focus today. But before we get started, I think we'd like to find out a little bit more about you and how you became anchored in education.
Well, thank you, and thank you so much for having me. It's absolutely my honor and privilege. This is my 27th year in education, 10 years as a superintendent. I started my career as a classroom teacher and then transitioned into administration as an assistant principal and then a principal for 10 years and an assistant superintendent. I've had the opportunity to work in diverse communities, both socioeconomically and culturally. I've also had the privilege to work with some amazing leaders, colleagues, families, and students. Some have been inspiring in what to do and others in what not to do. Everyone on my journey, though, I've tried to learn from. Each encounter, whether it's negative or positive, I try to learn a lesson from it and how I take these experiences and I too can make an impact on the lives of others.
And 27 years in education, you have had many opportunities to celebrate schools, celebrate students and teaching, and so that's what we're talking about today. And I think the back to school. I know we're in October, and the back to school at the end of summer, it's exciting. So this year, it was filled with welcome back videos. I saw parodies to Old Town Road, and I saw educators across the world doing the Get Up Challenge. What is your favorite part of beginning a new year?
Well, and it's never too early, I think, to plan the back to school. And I think as leaders, we're constantly thinking about, what else should we be doing? How do we motivate it and reflect back on how the last school year started? What do we do well? What do we need to continue to do? What do we need to make it better? And I think the excitement and the positive momentum of a new beginning, you get to start all over, a new chance to energize and inspire people. So this year we start with the staff, since they're the first responders who work with our students. We need to recognize and value and appreciate them so they can do the same for our students. And one of my favorite things to do at the start of the school year is have a big celebration. So each year we start our first day, the first Institute Day, with a back to school themed party to get staff motivated and inspired to come back to school. Because as you know, no one ever looks forward to going back to school. So this became a mission for the leadership team and me to energize them and to get them to look forward to coming back to school and celebrating. This year's theme was Rock Out the Red Carpet, the premiere of the new District 76. Everyone from the district leadership team to the Board of Education dressed up as their favorite rock stars and walked down the red carpet. And the positive energy was contagious. It takes people's minds off the dreaded back to school stress and the summer being over thoughts. And the party gives them something to look forward to. And the theme allows them to plan their outfits with their teams and doing something collaborative, during their summer work together. And then they also can build relationships and bond over something fun. The red carpet made them feel special and loved like the rock stars that they truly are.
And educators are rock stars, and I'm glad that you said that because we it's amazing what our teachers do. It truly is, and it's time to recognize that. And I saw the pictures, at least some of them from your back to school rock out, and it was amazing. I mean, some people came all out.
Absolutely. And you know what the best part about it all is that our board, so it starts at the top, as you know.
Yes.
So our Board of Education loved that they participated, and
Oh,
that I think made more of an impact on our staff than anything or anyone else because they knew that they were cared for and valued.
you bet. And I think most would probably agree that a majority of educators rock those first couple of days back. The Institute days, I mean, really, they get us pumped up, but you can feel that positivity flowing. And, then we bring in the students, and that first day is full of energy. But then comes day two, and followed by a third day, a second week, another month. And unfortunately, I believe that at times we see the energy and positivity wane. So, what have you typically seen as the year progresses?
Of course, yeah. I think that's just it's human nature. Everybody starts out really strong, and then all of a sudden, it just wears out because you can't kind of keep up at that level. But I think, and what we've seen over the past 5 years is if you start the year with a theme that everyone knows and is committed to, then people can have that spirit alive throughout the year with, just little reminders, spirit wear or spirit days, and ongoing follow up at staff meetings and team meetings to just kind of bring them back to that first day and bring them back to that energy level. Our themes center around sparkle and bling because of our district, Diamond Lake. It's a
Oh,
play
yeah.
on word of our district's name. So we just make it a priority to recognize, appreciate, and value our staff and administrative team throughout the year, throughout the month, throughout the days. And the Board of Education and I value this, and it permeates throughout the organization. Even at our board meetings, we recognize staff with a Diamond Award, every month. So I think it's just kind of like just that ongoing, slow, sustained, pressure, for a lack of a better word, just keeps that energy alive.
And I'm glad that you said that because, I did talk about the energy and positivity kind of falling off, but it's kind of up to us. Like if we stay energetic, at the administrative level, then teachers can stay energetic, which then, I mean, it's a trickle down, and that's how you get an entire school to remain positive throughout the year, not just those first couple days. So the first time that you and I connected, it was over the summer, and I was actually coming off my back to school message, which I had delivered just hours before we spoke, and you were gearing up towards what this year ended up being a late start for you because of some construction going on, but it was when we connected, it was almost like there was energy flowing through the phone. How we talked a little bit about this, but how can we keep that energy in our districts and our schools and our classrooms throughout an entire year?
It's a great question. And I think, we alluded to it before, but it starts at the top, with contagious, positive, and servant leadership. Leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge, as Simon Sinek famously says. And as superintendents and district leaders and school leaders, we need to make sure we take care of the people in our charge. They need to feel valued. They need to feel appreciated and recognized. We need to ensure that our staff, as our first responders, their basic social, emotional needs are met. So before we expect staff to take care of our students, we need to take care of our staff. We need to model that for them. Staff need to feel cared for, safe, welcome, and supported so that they can make our students feel the same way. And kids who come from loving homes, they come to school ready to learn. That's easy. But kids who don't come from loving homes come to school to be loved. So we need to provide that for them. And staff are our most valuable resource that we have in our school that impacts students. And they need to feel loved and cared for so then they can pay it forward and love and care for their students.
And just kind of give a preview on what you're saying there coming up in a couple weeks. John Bartelt talks about that exact same thing, and I'm glad that you mentioned it because it is so important that we take care of those people that's in our charge, and that we make sure that they feel that they're loved and that they're provided for. So, today we're talking about keeping that same excitement for school that we have on day one to be there at the same level when we hit day 93. And we've talked a lot about educators. Now, let's try talking about the students because we want to make sure we keep them pumped up. What strategies do you suggest to keep students hyped up throughout the year?
And it's really no different, for kids as it is for adults, but students must feel cared for, loved, and welcome in order them to be ready for learning and excited about learning. We need to support our first responders who are our staff to feel supported, and they have the resources and professional development that they need to respond to students and their needs. And so we do many activities daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly to ensure students are energized about their experiences at school. All school, grade level, and classroom meetings, assemblies, PBIS, encouragement and daily lessons, throughout our district, center on social emotional learning. Daily check-in and check-out with students who may need a little extra support and encouragement depending on what's going on at home or depending on what's going on with them personally. But I think just as we expect from staff, we model, we review, we reflect, and we engage. We hope that these practices, transfer to their students to keep them interested and motivated and excited about school. There's no real easy formula. It's just kind of you get back what you put out. So if you put out high energy, positivity, and love, you're going to get that back in return from your kids.
Well, you sort of just you took away what I was going to ask you, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just because I think it's worth repeating. If we are students going to reflect the energy that we bring?
Absolutely, absolutely. They are your mirror, and it's your own children at home as a parent, just like it is as an educator. You get back what you put out.
It's valuable advice, and that's why I wanted to repeat it again. I think that we often we forget that they are our mirror and that they're watching. And so if we're having a bad day and if we're slumping our shoulders, hanging our head, that it's going to be difficult for them to keep excitement going if we're not showing it.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. So I guess it is worth mentioning that the end of the school year often sees the same level of excitement as the beginning of the school year, but not, now I would argue, for the best of reasons. We often celebrate the end with countdowns and the thought of no more school. So while I'm not arguing our accomplishment for finishing the year is worth celebrating, do you feel that it is counterproductive to what we are trying to do throughout the year?
Well, I think sometimes it depends on how the message is delivered. Are we celebrating all that we have learned, how much we have grown, and how much we have achieved together? Or are we celebrating the end of the school year because we don't want to be here anymore and we don't want to be together? So I think what we try to do, again, as a leadership team and as a board, is we model this with staff and share with them all the goals we've achieved together and celebrate our successes and how much we have to be proud of and how much we've done throughout the year. This gives everyone a sense of accomplishment and achievement. The Board of Education, the leadership team, the staff, and the community. We are not celebrating the end of the school year. Yay, it's over. It's wow, we're happy that it happened, and look at all that we have done.
And I think that you've hit the nail on the head how the message is being presented, because a countdown sure can be negative, but like you said, for the right reasons, celebrating the end can be very positive as well. Mm-hmm. All right, before we go, you've given us a lot on what you do at Diamond Lake, but can you share with us some secrets or strategies that we could use, or that maybe you plan on using to keep the excitement going throughout the year?
Well, and I can't get past the message of it. It starts at the top. So it starts with us, Scott, as you know, as superintendents and as district leaders. But, every week on Monday mornings, we start out our weekly leadership team meetings for what we are grateful for. So they continue this with their staff and team. So when they walk out of our leadership meetings at 11 o'clock on Monday, they have the energy to keep going and hopefully reflect on something positive that they're grateful for. I think it also keeps people grounded and focused on what's important, because it's so easy to get caught up in, like the little nuances of your day, the little complaints and the little problems that happen. So at each of our three district institute days too, that we review and reflect on the accomplishments of our district and our goals and everything that we are grateful for and everything that we're doing together as a team. And I think, again, celebrating the successes and supporting the areas of needs and challenges, people get to see that we're focusing more on the positive stuff that we do. We do something fun each month, whether it's a district spirit day, or whether we have ice cream trucks for the staff, or for the teachers, our health and wellness day for staff to regroup and reconnect, whether it's doing some yoga or walking around the building together. But all of these personalized gestures and ideas, I think, humanize me to the staff and let them feel cared for, valued, and appreciated as people, not just as professionals. And I think, Maya Angelou says it the best, that I've learned that people will forget what you have said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And to me, I think that's the most important thing that we can do as leaders, is just make people feel good.
That is a powerful quote. And, just hearing some of the things that you're doing, an ice cream truck sounds wonderful. Not to,
Who can be upset about ice cream, right?
right? I mean, I'll tend to be pretty excited when the ice cream truck pulls up. But, something else that I noticed, I think it was just a couple weeks ago, you were in classrooms and you were reading. And I think that, that we can't lose the message on that you are, you're right there with them. And that has to be exciting to see top level leadership come down and read in classrooms.
Yes, you've got to stay connected with them. Otherwise, you lose touch of who you are and why you're there.
We definitely are in a profession worth celebrating, and I'm glad, Bhavna, that you had the opportunity to come on Anchored in Education to talk more about it, and I hope inspired some to go out and celebrate today.
Well, thank you, Scott. It was absolutely my pleasure and honor again to be with you. I learn and grow so much from other people, and I hope that I'm able to pay that forward.
Well, you are for me, and I know you are for my listeners too. Thanks again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Now, come on. Did you feel the energy? Did you sense her excitement? That needs to be our everyday. You can follow Bhavna on Twitter. Search at @BSharma-Lewis. Now, you can also learn more about Bhavna by visiting escottengland.com and clicking the Read More link under today's episode. And don't forget to subscribe to Anchored in Education on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. So I told Bhavna after we finished recording that I am always excited to celebrate schools, but before she reached out about this episode, I hadn't even considered it for an Anchored in Education podcast. I am glad she did, and I told her that. But she is right. Sometimes we get so busy that we forget that our attitude and our actions reflect to others. Most importantly, to the students. If we do not celebrate the opportunity to go to school and make a difference, then why on earth would the students do it? So I have my own thoughts and opinions on standardized state testing, which I'm not going to get into on this episode, but I will point out that most testing periods happen between the middle to end of February and the middle of April. So, how does that relate to today? Well, let's think about it for a moment. If we are not celebrating and maintaining positive excitement throughout the entire year, how are students going to feel when they have to show up for a week of testing in March? Moreover, if all we can do as educators is bemoan the testing, what most likely will be the actions of our students? Bhavna will agree with me. What we're talking about is not difficult to do, but it is, at times, difficult to remember. But we owe it to ourselves, our fellow educators, our students, and our community to maintain positive excitement all year long. because at the end of the day, we are all anchored in education.